Okay, so let's dive into what happened on the morning of January 24th, 2026. Things got really chaotic really fast in a Minneapolis neighborhood. A man was shot and killed by federal agents. And almost immediately, in the hours that followed, two completely different stories started to emerge. And to understand what actually happened, we've got to look at both of them.
And I mean, right away, we're hit with the absolute core of the conflict here. So on one side, you've got the official statement from the Department of Homeland Security, or DHS. They're claiming their agents were approached by a man with a gun. But then, on the other side, you have this citizen video that just started flying around the internet, and it looks like that same man is holding a mobile phone. This total contradiction is what lit the fuse on this whole thing.
So, to really get why the public reaction was so intense, you've got to understand the man who was right at the center of it all. And his name was Alex Pretti.
Yeah, understanding who Alex Pretti was is absolutely key to understanding the public outrage. I mean, this wasn't some fugitive or a known criminal they were dealing with. He was a 37-year-old ICU nurse, a U.S. citizen living in Minneapolis with a squeaky clean record. We're talking nothing more than a couple of minor traffic tickets. The fact that he was a healthcare worker, someone whose job was literally to save lives, that just made the whole situation that much more shocking and, frankly, politically explosive.
So the big question is, how did this all go down? Let's try to walk through the timeline of that morning, based on what we can piece together from the initial reports and the videos that surfaced.
Okay, so it all starts early in the morning. You've got federal agents from DHS, and that includes Border Patrol, conducting some kind of operation right there in the city. Now, according to witnesses, Alex Pretti approaches them because he saw the agents shove someone else. The video picks up from there, and you can see a physical struggle, with the agents taking Pretti down, pinning him. And it's right then, while he's being held down, that you hear multiple gunshots on the recording. A little while later, the local Minneapolis police show up and, they declare him deceased right there on the scene.
Okay, so as you can imagine, in those first 48 hours, there was just this flood of information coming from all over the place. So let's take a second and really try to separate fact from claim, what the evidence seems to show versus what each side is saying happened.
And this is where those two stories just completely collide. You've got the citizen video, right? It seems to pretty clearly show a cell phone in Pretti's hand while he's being pinned. This is backed up by not one, but multiple witnesses all saying he wasn't a threat and that he didn't have a gun. Both of those things, the video and the witnesses, they fly directly in the face of that initial DHS story about a dangerous man with a gun.
In this quote from The Guardian, man, it really drives home how important those witness accounts are. We're not talking about just casual comments here. People were so sure about what they saw that they gave sworn legal statements. Now that's a whole different level. It adds a ton of credibility to the idea that Pretti wasn't the aggressor here.
So you've got two totally different versions of the same event. What happens next? Well, now the focus turns to the official investigations. But what does that process even look like? Basically, you've got three investigations that can happen at the same time, on parallel tracks. First up, DHS is going to do its own internal review, looking at their agents' conduct. Second, you have the local Minneapolis authorities. They'll run their own homicide investigation to see if any state charges should be filed. And then third, you have the potential for an independent inquiry, which could be civil rights groups asking the Department of Justice to step in, or even a civil lawsuit filed by Pretti's family.
So to get any real clarity, these are the key pieces of evidence that everyone is waiting for. First and foremost, any body cam or vehicle footage from the agents themselves. That could be a total game changer. Then you have the official reports from forensics and the medical examiner. That's where we get the hard, objective facts. And of course, the big one, an official list of everything recovered from the scene. That's what's going to either confirm or deny if there was a gun once and for all.
But, this tragic event didn't just happen in a vacuum. It's really important to zoom out and see how it plugs into these much bigger, ongoing national conversations about policing, about who has jurisdiction, and about transparency.
And one of the key reasons this case hit such a nerve is, the presence of Border Patrol agents. Think about it. We're in Minneapolis, hundreds and hundreds of miles from any international border. This idea of an expanding federal law enforcement footprint in major American cities, it just raises all these really tough questions for people about jurisdiction, about the militarization of police, and ultimately about who is held accountable when something like this goes terribly wrong.
This whole thing also shows a huge shift in how these stories even get told in the first place. Go back a couple of decades, and the official police or government account would have been the story for the first day or two, no question. But today, it's a whole new ballgame. Citizen video, shot on a cell phone, can control the entire narrative from the very first minute, forcing official sources to play catch-up and respond to powerful visual evidence that's already out there shaping what everyone thinks.
And so, at the end of the day, we're left with this really fundamental and, honestly, really challenging question. When you have a camera in literally every pocket and the official story is the polar opposite of what the public's video seems to show, how do we find the truth? The path to figuring out what's real becomes more complicated than ever. And it's a question that not just investigators, but really all of us are going to have to grapple with.